All right. What's good, people? Hope everybody's well. Welcome back to the Onyx Report, where we as Black male justice advocates uplift Black men and boys using critical analysis. I hope y'all have had a good one. It's good to be back in here. Let me see. I don't know why that thing is there. Let me take that down. There we go. Yeah. So back in the house, been a little minute, and it does feel good to be back in here. So let's get, some of this housekeeping out the way, because we want to get straight down to business, right? So like, share, subscribe, join, donate, all that good stuff. Support the channel so we can, support independent Black male thought. We can continue to bring it to you the way we're going to do it today, the way we have been doing it. So appreciate y'all for sticking it out and supporting the brother this entire time. Shout out to Greg, who already dropped, Cash App. So thanks for that. Y'all know the deal. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. You can also support on Patreon. You can become a member of the channel on YouTube. You can become a member on patron on Patreon. And of course, if you're interested in my monthly film reviews, you can become a member on Patreon and get those as well. Speaking of which, tomorrow night, I will be doing a film review on the film RRR. And some of y'all may remember that. So we'll discuss that, break that one down. And I will do a second one next week. And I'm thinking that we might go ahead and just do Captain America, Brave New World next week. So they'll probably both be Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific. So this week is RRR. Next week will be Captain America, Brave New World. But we're going to look at RRR. For those of you who remember, it's actually an Indian superhero flick. But the reason we're watching it is we're going to be talking about some of the kind of nationalist pro-male pieces that are coming out from various places. I'm also thinking of doing one on El Chicano, which is another pro-male nationalist piece, but that one is actually a Mexican American one, and they actually base it in many ways off of African Americans. So we'll talk about that as we get closer to it. But support tomorrow night. Come through Patreon, check out our review, the review we have of it, and go from there. So that said, let me get. All right. Get some of this on the thing. Make sure this is working properly. There we go. So make sure you support. There's the Cash App right there if you're so inclined. Of course, there's the super chat option. And if you haven't already, go ahead and pick up Solutions for Anti-Black Misandry. Get that on Amazon. You can get it on Routledge, pretty much anywhere you buy your favorite books. So make sure that you support. And that's actually the image for RRR. So we'll break down why I'm going through it as we discuss it tomorrow night. But you'll get a kick out of it if you haven't seen it. And if you have, you already know the deal. So just to kind of get that on the table. Shout out, Brother Malika, first in the building. Always good to see you, man. Shout out to Chef Mike. What's good? Kennard, Ahmed, Ron, what's up? Busy Mike, Special K, what's going on? Appreciate that compliment, Special K. Got Andre in here, Great Eye 9. What's good with you, man? Blood Crow says he's back in the U.S. Good to have you back. Wonder where you went. Indigo, what's up? Y'all know the deal. Support Layman's Journal. Shout out to the Layman's Journal channel. He's been doing some fabulous work over there. Just dropped not too long ago a review of the film Revolutionary Road, I believe was the title. So if you're not familiar, I highly recommend you join the brother's Patreon because he goes full in on the film in ways he can't on YouTube, and you'll get a lot more out of it. So support Layman's Journal and check out his Patreon over there. Shout out to Paul. Let's see, Donnie, what's up? Got Gundam, what's going on? Compassionate and Callous, good to see you, brother. Real Black Gentleman, what's going on? Jimmy, AB, support the AB media channel. Go check him out. Sovereign, what's up, Dark Power? Appreciate that Cash App. Thank you. Lyndon, Barry, Craig, Keith, what's going on? Tommy, we got Michael in the house. Black Nerd, what's going on? Black Nerd says, glad to see you, Doc. You've been missed. And spread knowledge about your channel and the work you do here in Canada. Oh, hoping to connect you and some brothers here. Man, appreciate that. Thank you. Jonathan, what's up, Spain, man? Shout out to HD Hip Hop. There's tuition and legal fees. Appreciate that donation. Malika knows the deal. El Chicano is an excellent flick. Absolutely. Right? Dr. D, what's up? Electrician, what's going on, man? Yeah, so we getting it in. So far, 100 people in the building. Please make sure you hit my like button. Now, today, as you can tell from the title, this is something that came from a couple of different inspirations. Now, there was a brother who sent it to me, and I do apologize. I misplaced the email, so I can't give the brother credit. If he's here in the comment section, go ahead and take it. I apologize about that. But he brought up the concept of a default prenuptial agreement, which I had never really thought about. Not long after that, and I'll show you a clip on this in a minute, there was another country where we saw some laws changing that raised some relevant questions. So I posted that on Facebook, and I just kind of said, thinking about doing a show on this, what do y'all think? And I got an overwhelming reply from response from Black men. One of the brothers that responded is a favorite of the channel. He's been here. It's been a while, but the brother's been here a few times. And so he's not a stranger. He's a guest to the channel. He always has an open door. And of course, has his own channel. So if you are not actively doing so, I'm going to let the brother name both. He has two channels that I'm aware of. And I want him to name both of them for you so you can go ahead and join and support. But you know that attorney Dennis Spurling has been a friend of the channel for years, has been doing some fabulous work, and is always the go-to as far as I'm concerned about getting legal information in regard to Black men's experiences here, what we have to look forward to, what we're dealing with, how to break it down. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him up. So shout out to the good brother, attorney Dennis Spurling. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, Doc. How are you today?
Doing well, man. Just grateful you made some time to come through. I know you're busy as all get out. So appreciate that. Go ahead and tell people if you would, not only about the channels that you have, but also your background. You can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney. It'll be 25 years this year. Just first of all, shout out to everybody in the chat room. It's always a pleasure to be here and just talk with all the folks. You know, this is where the real work is done. You know, right here, not. You know, right here is where it's done. And, you know, it's always a pleasure to come and speak with folks. This is where the true thinking is happening. So I just, it's just good to be here. Just good to be back here, man, hanging out with you. But I've been a lawyer for about 25 years. It'll be 25 years. I got sworn in October of the year 2000. And I have, shoot, man, I've been practicing law in Louisiana, Texas, Illinois, New York. Where else? Arkansas and Michigan. I think that's 6. And so I've been at it a while. I practice personal injury law largely, but I kind of dibble and dabble in things. Lately, I've been getting more into business law and such. But for the most part, my primary occupation is complex litigation. In other words, I'm a trial lawyer. And, you know, it is what it is. But at this point, you know, I do my YouTube channel. I have the Dennis Spurling podcast, as many of you may know. And I also have the Blizzard King channel, and I've been trying to separate them. The Blizzard King channel is more on the lines of what I used to do traditionally on the Dennis Spurling channel.
Okay.
And the Blizzard King channel allows me to talk more about social issues as opposed to the Dennis Spurling channel, which I kind of have now dedicated to talking about more political issues, world issues, international issues, just to let the world know that Black men have a lot of different opinions about a lot of different things. And it's not just about relationships. You know, we don't want to get pigeonholed into that. And I think what's going on now is our crowd is getting older, whereas 10 or 15 years ago, relationships were the thing because they were in their 20s, you know, in their early 30s, but now they're in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and they're more focused on money and international things. So I just want to grow with the crowd. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you and I work together on a couple cases too. Now, don't let them.
That's right. That's right.
Don't let them slide out without learning the truth.
Yeah, you know, actually being able to take the things we're talking about online and apply them, whether it's in the courtroom, whether it's in regard to policy. And Dennis has been on the front end. Matter of fact, we've actually, and I won't name them because I was asked not to, but we've been on certain calls with key politicians at various points about some of the ideas we had and helping to transition those ideas from, you know, grassroots discussion online to policy in certain states. So, you know, these are the things we you know, we've been pushing for, you know, the idea of just talking about things online and complaining about girlfriends or relationships. That has its place, but that's not where the discussion is ended. So that's one of the reasons I appreciate your work. And you came in strong with that, you know, really wanting to make sure it didn't stop at just talking online, but applying it to the real world.
Yeah.
So now this, let me see. Now you were kind enough to pop in on Facebook and say, "Hey, you know, I want to talk a little bit about this," and I'm going to show for those who may not know. This is the Black Male Political Agenda. So you can find this on newblackmasculinities.wordpress.com, and this is the 18-point Black Male Political Agenda. Right, so you can download a PDF version. You can actually purchase a hard copy if you want. The link is there for that. Just some, you know, basic description, and it's being updated. So the last time it was updated was October of this past year. But as we get new information, new ideas coming in, we continue to add to it. And you can see a streamlined list of the 18 points there. And of course, you can click on any of them for more detail. So we're going to be looking at really a possible addition to the family court reform issue, depending on what Attorney Spurling helps us come to on this issue and what y'all think about it and so on and so forth. But you can see the breakdown. And this one, I believe, has about 17 subpoints, if I'm not mistaken. And First one starts with child custody, mandatory paternity testing at birth, so on and so forth. So we're looking at the possibility of default prenuptial agreement at marriage. And I just wanted to set the context, for what this discussion is about. It really comes down to the Black male political agenda and what we can add to it to really broaden what it is we're trying to do, broaden what we stand for. And this is one of those things where, when people inevitably asks you, well, what are you about? What are you trying to do? So on and so forth. This is a compendium of ideas that you all came up with about what you want, ideally. And believe it or not, as I mentioned earlier, politicians, various figures are reaching out and they're looking at this, and much of the time without even talking. They're just going through and they're looking at it, so on and so forth. And I'm one that's argued that a couple of key politicians have taken the idea of a Black male agenda, particularly on the left. We've seen that in Georgia. We've seen it in the last presidential election. And I do believe that you can't even put those words together in Google without coming to this Black male political agenda. So as far as I'm concerned, it's been getting headway. We've been seeing various states applying certain ideas that are I'm not saying it's a direct product of this necessarily, but there is a place for the politics we advocate for. But specifically for Black men, I like to keep this list there, freely accessible, always open to new ideas, so that we can continue to build what we're talking about. And this idea we're looking at for possibly adding to this. To give it a little more context, I want to play a clip. Hopefully there won't be a copyright issue. But this is from a channel that I greatly respect. If you've heard of Manosphere Highlights Daily, they actually have a clip that helped to kind of inspire this. It's not, I wouldn't say the show inspired it necessarily, but the issue going on in another country inspired it. And this is one of the channels that I definitely wanted to shout out in terms of showing that. So now hopefully you guys can hear it. Let me see here.
Have you seen the?
Okay, so I just want to, were you able to hear that at all? Just that
yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it a little bit, the snippet. Yeah.
Now I'm going to play it at 1.5 speed, but I'm only going to play a couple minutes of it. Again, shout out to Manosphere Highlights Daily, powerful channel. And again, their Patreon, they go into much more depth, but they do a YouTube version pretty much for every show that they have. And this is a good one, but this is dealing with some of the recent divorce law changes in China. And they were looking good. I'm seeing the ones in the chat. Appreciate that, fellas. I'm seeing, some of the changes recently in China have to do with, really trying to, entice men to marry and participate again. So I'm gonna play this for a couple minutes, and we'll go from there. So here we go.
New marriage law. It says that whatever money you earn is yours. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine. Now I understand why marriage doesn't require a waiting period, but divorce does. Look behind me. These are all people waiting to get divorced. Today is the day of the Lunar New Year. The office opened at 9 a.m. and in just 2 hours, this is the scene.
Your country's birth rates are tanking. Marriage rates are dropping. The economy is bracing for a crisis. So what's the government's brilliant fix? Simple. Make marriage more appealing to men and making divorce less financially devastating for them. Seems logical, right? Well, think again. Because instead of saving marriages, this law just sent women running for the exit. Welcome to Manosphere Highlights Daily. Shout out to Patreon gang member Mr. Lowry for the topic request. Salute! Let's break this down. On February 1st, 2025, China officially implemented a new divorce law, and the impact has been massive. Just take a look at this.
Now I understand why marriage doesn't require a waiting period, but divorce does. Look behind me. These are all people waiting to get divorced. Today is the 8th day of the Lunar New Year. The office opened at 9 a.m. and in just 2 hours, this is the scene. I came here to help a client transfer property ownership, and I saw this with my own eyes. Just look at the line. Everyone here is getting a divorce. So far, I've only seen one couple getting married.
Shout out to China Observer for that clip. So what's in this new law that's got people, especially women, sprinting to the courthouse? Let's take a look at this post from X. Dennis, read.
China has a new divorce law, effective the 1st of February 2025. Previously, all properties owned by either spouse would be equally divided during divorce. Now, the law is a lot simpler. Whoever paid for it owns it after divorce, even if the wife and houses gifted to the husband by his parents will remain his property even after divorce and will not be considered shared matrimonial property. And the Chinese women aren't happy. Oh no.
Chinese women are not just unhappy. Chinese women are furious. Like this.
Have you seen the new marriage law? It says that whatever money you earn is yours. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine. If her house was bought before marriage, it still belongs to the original owner after divorce, even if my name was later added to the deed. If the house was bought during marriage, but paid for by the husband's parents, I wouldn't get a single cent after divorce. This means the traditional idea of men earning and women managing the household no longer applies. The law doesn't care how much housework I do, how many years I spend as a stay-at-home wife, how many kids I have, or how much I sacrifice for the family. It only protects the person with financial assets. So no matter how much money my husband makes, before you get divorced, I won't get a penny. After learning about this law, I lost all motivation. I don't feel like cleaning, washing clothes, or taking care of the kids. Why? Because none of that counts. If I worked as a nanny, I could make 5,000 to 6,000 yuan a month. But right now, I have no job and no income. And no matter how much I do, it won't mean anything. So don't call me lazy anymore. You can take care of the kids, cook your own meals, and wash your own clothes.
This is pure gold. See the dilemma here? Marriage, as we know it, is an outdated contract that no longer fits modern society. Men avoided marriage because they knew divorce could financially ruin them. Now that the law protects their assets, women are the ones backing out because now they could walk away with nothing. Like I always.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there.
All right.
And I wanted all of y'all to see that, but I also wanted Attorney Spurling to see what kind of spawned this, because we're at a place where we could argue that we're seeing the marriage rates. We're seeing the birth rates are lower than the death rates in many states at this point. Marriage has been dropping for decades. You know what I mean? If you want men to participate at some point, the question is going to have to be, how do you entice them to marry? And this is one of the reasons we have the family court reform option on the Black male political agenda. Yeah. But I kind of wanted you to see what kind of spawned the question. And so, as somebody who's dealt with this on multiple levels, you've gotten your law degree, you've practiced, and you probably dealt with it in your personal life.
Got my own prenup. Yeah.
Good. There we go.
So what it seems to me, here's the thing: married people have more sex than single people. And so because of that, there's more likelihood for a woman to get pregnant, even if it's by accident. And so the government realizes if we can get people, entice men to marry again, then there's a likelihood that there'll be more reproduction. And so that's the incentive in it. What you see in that law is basically, it's a concept that we call community property versus separate property. And what they're doing is, they're codifying in their law that there is an absolute presumption that the property owned before the marriage was separate property. Okay. The property purchased with a certain individual's income is separate property, and property given to you or given to the man by his parents is his separate property, irrespective of the divorce. And what it does is it removes the financial incentive from women for getting a divorce. At this point, it's more lucrative to get divorced than it is to stay married. For a lot of women. They can get divorced, stay married for a certain time period, and then just the mere fact by being present in that man's life, irrespective of the fact that he was going up already or what he already had accumulated, there's a presumption that she is half owner of everything he has possession of, and then it is upon him to prove that this was separate property, and anything he acquired during that marriage is considered community property. So there's a fight about that, and oftentimes men would rather just quit than keep fighting because it costs money to pay the lawyers, etc. But what
you have to pay hers too.
Oftentimes you have to pay hers. So that's what they're doing. What we could do over here is something similar. We try to do it with the prenups, and the prenup is a contract between two parties. So that's the law between the parties. But what the Chinese government is saying, no, this is the law of the land, which is a lot stronger and it carries a lot more weight.
Okay. Now you're an advocate, obviously, for prenuptial agreements. How have you seen them work in the past? Like, what have you actually, seen and experienced with that for brothers who don't know?
Well, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with a prenuptial agreement, you're dealing with a contract, and some things that you.
Okay, so it looks like we Borging a little bit. Hopefully that will come through. Might have to text them a little. My apologies, people. Y'all know how this go. He was going slightly in and out a little earlier. I was hoping it would kick back in, but he might have to go out and come back in. Might have to call him if this keeps up. There we go. He knows. All right. My apologies, people. That's how it go. It is what it is. Oh, okay. So he said they had a power outage for whatever reason. Okay. So my bad. Shout out to the brothers in the chat. We were just getting started, so as soon as he comes back through, we're gonna jump right in where we left off. But I know some of y'all have dealt with this on various levels, especially Dead Set. Dead Set could teach a class on this as it is, but I know a number of you probably have. I haven't had this experience, but it is something I definitely advocate that brothers look into if you're going to consider marriage. So it's definitely something we want to look at. Now there are certain states where there's considered to be a kind of standard prenup already on the table, like California. This is something I came across a little earlier. So they have what's called, well, so this is the Bar Association of San Francisco, right? California Prenup Marriage Plan. And one of the things they state here is that it says every married Californian has a prenuptial premarital agreement. It's the California Family Code. The Family Code governs during the marriage and during a divorce. Even if California spouses don't want to plan for a divorce, the state legislature has already codified marital division. Now, I wouldn't argue that that necessarily advocates for men, which is obviously our concern on this channel. I think more than anything, it's codified in a particular way, but I think what we're looking at is something more customized to individual Black men themselves. You know, whether you're well-to-do or whether you're starting up, having some kind of protections in place. Because at the end of the day, what we're really looking at is a culture, particularly something we've all witnessed with women. I grew up in a family full of women, and if you've been in the Black community and you've grown up with multiple generations of women, you've noticed that their conversations about marriage is very much rooted in an expectation that divorce will yield them half of what you have. They almost go into it with a calm demeanor, knowing that they'll get it. So I think, what's the name, as Richard Cooper calls it, they're always kind of ready to pull the lever for cash and prizes. And usually the go-to expectation is that can happen if she's not happy, which is such a random, amorphous kind of approach to things. But this is the reality of what men in the West have to grapple with. Whenever she decides that she wants cash and prizes, whenever she decides she's not been happy enough, that's kind of been what takes place. So we need to move to a point where we have some kind of protections, or else men will continue to do what they have been. So hold on. All right,
y'all. I don't know what happened, man. We just had a quick power outage here for whatever reason, but
okay,
I am back. Everything seems to be working. Just took me out, man. Took me all the way out of the game. But where was I? So so
you were talking about your experience, what you've seen with prenups and how they work, and do they work?
Yeah. So if you get a prenup, that, let's say you sign a contract, you got a nice young lady down the street that you like. You're like, look, baby, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna give you $1,000 a month, and you're gonna give me five opportunities to have sex with you. They like, no, you can't do that. That's prostitution, sir. We can't contract for something illegal, okay? Or my famous one, you call the police because somebody took your dope and your illegal gun. Like, hold on a minute, sir. This is not a contract that we can support, okay? Same thing goes for contract unenforceable. Here, can you hear me?
You borging
Hello?
real hard. Can you hear?
Was that me?
Yeah.
Was that me? I don't know what's going on out here, man. I don't know if we having some issues around here or whatever. It's a lot of storms and tornadoes here in Texas right now. But either way, some contracts are unenforceable. And the same flows into the area of prenuptial agreements. If you have a prenuptial agreement, you're a 50-year-old man and you got a 20-year-old girlfriend, okay? And you basically say she's uneducated. You are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You worth $100 million. And you say, hey, look, you know, as long as she stays married to me for, you know, 30 years, right, I'll give her, or 10 years, I'll give her $10 million, okay? That's one thing. Maybe that'll work. But if you say it doesn't matter how long she's married to me, this young girl, this young woman who's 20 years old, and I'm a CEO that's 60 years old, she gets nothing. They may say that's unconscionable, that's not enforceable. She wasn't a sophisticated party. She didn't understand what she was signing, and therefore the judge may invalidate that to a certain extent. There's a lot of other things. For instance, Social Security. You can't deny your spouse access to your Social Security. That goes against, that's governed by federal law. Okay, so there's spousal Social Security that she can receive. Now, I got a 60-page prenuptial agreement. We'd be here for 3 or 4 hours trying to break it all the way down. Okay, but if you want to just look at one real quick, if you just want to take a look and see what one of them look like, I can kind of let you know this infamous prenuptial agreement is not going to bite you. Okay, and I've changed the names to protect the innocent. Okay, so we can take a gander at this real quick, you guys. I'm gonna share the screen real quick, Doc.
Okay.
In a second. Hold on a minute. All righty. Okay, this is the prenuptial agreement of John Smith and Jane Doe. Okay, let me see if I can get this.
Is it letting you share?
Share screen. I'm trying to share this. Yeah, it's coming up right now. So, okay, so see that right there at the top? Everybody should be able to see this.
Okay. There you go.
Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So this is what it looks like. We can zip down to the bottom. You know, it's a whole about admittance, 58 pages long. Prenuptial agreement. This is what one looks like. John Smith and Jane Doe, hereinafter Jane and John. ... The state, location, city, regardless of any prior statement of reparations, representation, conduct by either party included but not limited to assertion that the party is already married. Such statements shall have no legal effect on the commencement of their marriage. This basically, of course, this is written under the Texas Family Code, but for the most part, it highlights what the intentions of the parties are. You got to have all these different separate parts. Here's the most important. Unless otherwise explicitly stated herein, no community property will be generated during the marriage. What does that mean? Under most of these common law states, there is an assumption that anything possessed during the marriage is community property. So in order to, it is a rebuttable presumption. But if you go ahead and state in your prenuptial agreement that there's no community property, okay, no community property will be generated during the marriage. In other words, even if we're married, there's going to be no community property. On top of that, everything you earn beforehand is separate property. That's understood. Okay, for the purposes of this agreement, personal service earnings as used in the agreement shall be broadly, because this is kind of just defining things. This is received, I'm going to read it to you. Used in this agreement shall be broadly construed to mean all money, property, and benefits received by a party as a result of his or her personal services, labor, employment, occupation, time, toil, talent, effort shall include by way of example of no limitations, wages. In other words, anything I earn for my personal service is still considered personal separate property. Okay, so you're not going to give me an entity. This is a section you're defining all the names, entity, income, dissolution, primary residence. This is the place where you live as a married couple. Now, here's the thing. A lot of these prenuptial, you might go a long way, but then when you get down to the bottom of one of these prenuptial agreements, it says something like the surviving spouse shall inherit the primary residence.
Mm.
If you have a will, it could have been the house that your parents gave you. If
Okay.
you leave that in there, then the wife gets it. And so your children that you have don't get it. Nobody else gets it. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta be mindful to read everything in these things, and you need yourself a good lawyer. Let me see here. Property rights, joint ownership. These are all sections that are discussed. There's another aspect of it that I'll kind of go into. Somewhere in here, there's how we are going to get a divorce. What's going to happen in the divorce? All right. Divorce, right? How long does she get to stay in the house? How long do you get to stay in the house? Because see, you can be in that house for 60 days or 90 days, and it'd be a fight pop off, and now she's got a restraining order against you.
Oh, wow.
There's a famous white actor. He played opposite Whitney Houston. His name escapes me right now.
Come on, Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner, upon being served with the divorce papers, his wife, who filed a divorce, had 10 days to evacuate all of their residences. 10 days. So what does that do? Well, typically what happens is when you file for a divorce, the wife who has the children will often be allowed to maintain custody of the home because it's in the best interest of the children.
Okay.
Hasan Johnson be damned. I don't care if you're out in the car sleeping. Okay. So what happens when you have a home that's a separate piece of property, but because it was the primary residence or the matrimonial residence, the judge is not going to put that woman and those kids out. It's going to make you leave, even if it was your house beforehand. So that's why you have a prenuptial agreement that says, you don't have an indefinite time to stay in the house until the divorce is over. You got to get out of here in 60 days or 30 days or 15 days or 20 days. And that cuts down on the foolishness. You see what I mean? Because see, typically what happens, and this is the play, when a woman plans on filing for a divorce, typically what she will do is find a reason to file a restraining order against you. Wow. Okay, let me say that again. She will find a reason. Her lawyer will say, well, has he been abusive to you or the children? Has he been abusive, verbally abusive, whatever? Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to file a restraining order against him and alleged abuse. And then that way, the judge will order him, because the judge is going to want to be safer than sorry. The judge wants to be reelected. Heaven forbid we'll have some poor woman abused by her husband and not allow him to stay in the house. So we're going to get him out of there. You see what I mean? And so now she's got the house. She's got interim spousal support. She's got interim child support, which is money you pay her to help her maintain the lifestyle in which she had become accustomed to while the divorce is pending. On top of that, she's paying child support, and she may have her own job. While you, on the other hand, giving up 25% of your income plus your money that you're earning is going to her, pre-alimony, pre-divorce alimony. Now she's all right. What is her incentive to get a divorce? What is her incentive to finalize a divorce when she might not get alimony and she may have to move out the house? There is none. So now the divorce goes on for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because there's no incentive for her to get a divorce. So you end all that with a prenup and say, well, you got 15 days to get out this house. Either if you file for divorce, then you got 15 days to leave from the date you file. If I file from divorce, then you have 15 days from the date I serve you with the divorce papers, or 30 or 60, however you want to do it. So this is how, and this is enforceable. Okay. But you see how we're beginning to, you create your own family law between yourselves. Certain events, not evidence of community property, whether we file taxes together, that's not. Whether we take a title on the property, that's not. Designating the party as a beneficiary to the estate, that's not going to say it's community property. Any oral statement This is our house. We love our house. That doesn't make it community property. So you do away with all the traps that the lawyers use to get you caught up. Okay. Wow. No legal action against the separate property of the man or the woman. And if you do, there's a penalty associated with it. Let's say I buy some apartment complexes during the marriage, and they're my separate property. Well, she thinks she has an opportunity to come and try to get it, and she files an action. Well, there's a penalty associated with doing that. Okay. There's also an allotment for gifts. Gifts, that's the separate property of another. Your lovely wife buys you a Rolex or something like that. She can't come back and take it. You see what I mean? Okay. Liabilities are his liabilities. Her liabilities are her liabilities. And so, there's a lot of little different things in here. You can do business with your wife, but that still y'all need to designate separate property. If you buy something together, then she's entitled to her pro rata share of what she donated. He's entitled to his pro rata share. If you got household personal expenses, that does not necessarily mean that the property is community. Joint acquisition of assets. Now, I highly recommend that you never, ever, ever, and if you don't mind me leading your audience like I normally do, somebody in the chat room write never, ever, 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 ever have a joint bank account with your woman. Okay, let me bring that back one more again. Never, ever, 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 ever have a joint bank account with your woman, with your love interest, period, point blank. Wow. Okay? Because if you do that on the day that a day before she files for divorce, that joint bank account, which has her name on it, is going to be empty. Okay? And her new boyfriend are going to take that money and go have a great time somewhere on your dime, even if you have the majority of it in there is your name, and she has a little few dollars. If she got access to it, you can best bet it's on and cracking, as we used to say back in the 90s. Just get off with that. So don't do it. Just cut down on the foolishness. You understand what I'm saying? Let me see. Notwithstanding, each party desire to generally waive reimbursed claims set forth. Each party agrees that in the event a party contributes $250,000 or more, his or her separate property towards capital improvement jointly owned. Okay, that's just more the same. All right. Considerations, you can file tax together. That still doesn't make you joint. Okay. And I'm just rolling through this pretty quick just so you won't be afraid of it. You see what I mean? It contemplates separate tax returns, and if you got a tax return, she gets her half, you get your half. Now, upon the dissolution of the marriage, okay, whether we're talking about divorce, annulment, or whatever, waives any right that she might have to seek temporary or post-divorce spousal support or alimony from the husband.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Here's another thing. Waives attorney's fees. Okay. So you won't get any of that. It's already agreed to. All right. So you can't get John's property. And on the flip side, John can't get Jane's property, because at this day and age, we got a lot of boss chicks out there, and she might make a few more dollars than you. All right. But what we're doing is we're coming up with our agreement while we still love each other, as opposed to trying to hash it out in some mediation room when we don't like each other anymore. We both agree, no, I don't like you, and I got to look at your ugly face again. I don't like the lawyer. I don't like none of y'all. And I got to sit out here and try to get along with you. And I don't like you, and you know I don't like you. And it's been built up. You see what I mean? So let's work out this agreement when we like each other. You see what I'm saying? That's what you do. When y'all like each other. Why wait till you're angry with each other to try to come up with an agreement that's going to affect your life? Just do it when you're smiling. You know what I mean? While she's still good to you. You see what I mean? While she still you can negotiate with her. You're not going to ever have more leverage in a marriage as the time you will have before you get married, fellas. I want you to understand that. Okay.
Now, when you and I were talking about this a couple days ago, one of the things you gave me some insight on when the best time to introduce the idea of a prenup was.
Immediately, date one. Date one. First, look, matter of fact, when you talk to her on the phone the first time, hey, what's up, baby? Yeah, let's go 50-50 on this coffee date. But before that, how do you feel about prenups? That needs to be your first conversation. You need to let them know I repeat, I will not be getting married without a prenuptial agreement. It's just it. And if you don't like it, hey, look, take that coffee cappuccino and how you going about just to have a nice life. You will not be successful if you go through multiple divorces and have to take the hits that divorces do to you. Imagine trying to start all over again with one leg and one arm at 50. You see what I mean? And learn how to walk again. It's one thing to learn how to walk as a baby. Imagine trying to do that. That's where you're at. So don't do that to yourself. You're just doing yourself a disservice. Okay? You're playing yourself. You just work your whole life for nothing. Okay? And now you trying to hide your money in the mattress. You out here trying to get paid under the table, and you know what I'm saying? And because now they asking you questions in the deposition, and they're asking you questions and sending you interrogatories, and your lawyer's like, well, you got to answer the question. They want you to sign off on this affidavit saying you didn't hide your money in your mattress and putting your money in your mama name, sir. We need to know. You can't be out here lying. If you're out here lying, guess what's gonna happen? Because you might it's gonna be worse for you. You see, right. And your divorce lawyer is not gonna be any help. They just there to milk you. See, the thing about family law lawyers, they charge by the hour, and they want to get paid by the hour. Okay, and that's typically their primary source of income. And so the longer the divorce goes, the more they pay. Now, if you get this straight ahead of time, whether you get married in 2025 and get divorced in 2035 or 2055, at the end of the day, here's the agreement between us. It's all laid out right there. Okay. So again, waiver of the right to occupy separate property, residence of the other. You got 20 days here. Some people say 60. But see, I figure I can go on vacation for 10 days and come back and stay in a hotel for another 10. That means what? I'm gone. You see what I mean? I don't have to worry about a fight. I don't want to roll over to an angry woman in the morning after she done thought about it and talked to her family and her sisters and her friends and started contemplating and plotting. She's had exchanged text messages with her lawyer and her friends telling her how this one did that. She done did research online to figure out the best way to get your ugly behind out the house and get the cars and whatnot. She trying to get you to sign stuff, probably trying to get you to withdraw the divorce papers so she can reset and be ready for it the next time. You see what I'm saying?
It's like a game of chess that I've seen women prepped for since damn near childhood, if not straight up childhood. Because I've sat, as a young boy, I've sat in those war councils and I've heard, grandmother, the mother, the daughter, the granddaughter, these conversations about what you can get. And the girls don't even have to be anywhere near marriage. They're just learning what is available to them. Guys, for the most part, we tend to come in this. I mean, what's the phrase we've heard? Men, what is it? Men marry for love and women are in business. You know what I mean? It is not a joke. I've seen it too often. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to do this show, because I still see brothers going into it and just come out getting destroyed.
They soft as cotton swabs out there in these streets, boy. That's why they call me the Blizzard King. I'm gonna tell you this ice cold truth, and I practice what I preach. Look, let me tell you something. You can't let a woman ride in on a mule and ride out with the castle. In other words, she can't ride in dead broke and ride out with your fortune. That should go against. See, look, let me tell you something, fellas. There's always gonna be a tomorrow, and tomorrow you want to have your money. Because, see, your money is your voice. Your money is your sanity. Your money is going to keep that stress off your back. And so I don't care how much you love that woman, at the point where you are going through a divorce, it is war. It is war. It is war. It is war. And you treat her like she is your adversary. Now, I'm not saying go out there and start being like Ukraine and Russia, but I'm saying recognize that she is your adversary. And she is trying to do everything she can do to gain an advantage and take from you what she feels she's deserved, even if it's unearned. So what you have to do is not only play defense, but play offense. I'm not telling you to fight dirty, but what I am telling you is list all of the friends that she has that don't like her, that have said bad things about her as a witness list in your discovery responses. You understand what I mean? So when she realized that Sheila up at her job is going to be one of the character witnesses that you bring, and Sheila knows all the stealing she been doing and clocking in late and everything about her house husband, that you need to put that out there. You see what I mean? All her mean, evil text messages when she talked about your mama and told you was less than a man and called you the bitch word, all that that needs to be discovery response. That needs to be put. It's nothing like looking at something in black and white that the judge, her lawyer, gonna be like, "Oh my God, did you said all this to your husband? The time she called your daddy at the F-bomb, the time the sounds like maggot starts with an F. All the time she called you out your name, everything, all the mean things she said on video, get them transcribed by a court reporter and let all of that be, because it's one thing to have it on videotape. It's another thing that somebody can read it. You see what I'm saying? It's war. And the best thing about it, fellas, if you do it right, when the war is over, she'll not only will she respect you a lot more, but you'll have more of your money. See, you can have so much ammo lined up against somebody. They like, yeah, let me go ahead and sign these divorce papers. But as long as you go in there soft, okay, as long as you go in there soft and trying to get along, you in a boxing ring. She about to tear you up, unleash on you. She about to whoop you. And not only is she going to whoop you, then she going to talk about you once she takes everything you have. Okay, and all your friends and relatives and her relatives are going to be like, well, she must have been right because she won. She got everything. She was vindicated. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. Stop being soft. Stop being weak. If you're in a straight up divorce with no prenup, you got to do what you got to do within the confines of the law. Now, you can end most of that by getting a prenuptial agreement. The fighting is already done. You see what I'm saying? So but go ahead, Doc.
Well, let me ask you two questions. One, how often may a judge dismiss a prenup? How dependable are they in that regard? And two, I heard something about a postnup or something to that effect at some point. I don't know anything about it, but I just want to know is that a real thing and what are the benefits of that if it is?
I mean, if you can get her to sign a postnup. See, the leverage you have before you get married is that we're not getting married until you sign this pre-nuptial agreement. The nuptials of the marriage. I'm not signing. The post-nuptial means, well, look, I know I bought this house, but it's mine, and you need to sign this post-nup. No, I'm not. You see what I mean? I'm not signing it. What are you gonna make her do it? You're already married. Your leverage is gone. Once you lay down with the woman, y'all the same height. She could have been a straight up 304 off the street, and you could have been a rich man. Y'all equal now. Now y'all the same. Y'all equal. Y'all together. The world sees you as together. Now,
which happens because we're not hypergamous. So
we're not.
We'll marry a waitress and be a millionaire.
Hold on a minute. Uncle D is hypergamous. I want all y'all to know that Uncle D is hypergamous. Okay. I told my beautiful, wonderful, fantastic wife, look, baby, you're gonna have to get out of law school. You're going to have at least 2 law licenses and at least as many degrees as me before we get married. Even though you're beautiful, I know I'm old. I know I'm 50. You're 24. That's all right. I don't care. I'm hypergamous too. So now, not only does she have to be fine and cook and clean, but she got to be smarter than me. And I told her a couple of weeks ago, you're going to be much richer than me. By the time I get 70, I'm going to be the one trying to get some damn, what is it called? Alimony. You better go ahead and sign this prenup. You understand what I'm saying? So you'd be happy you did. So what I'm trying to tell you, I am what's the word? Hypergamous. I am hypergamous. Uncle D is high. That's the best way to be. Be hypergamous. She don't have to be rich when you meet her, but she needs to have a whole lot more potential than she needs to be. She needs to have as much potential as you, because you don't want to marry somebody who has nothing to lose, man. You want to marry somebody who has much to lose as you. Now, I want to go over this right here before we because this is important. Okay.
Just the other part of that question was, how dependable are these? How often do judges get, dismiss them? Prenups.
That's what I was going to answer. Let me put this in here. So I'm going to read this for you. Disposition of primary residence. The parties agree that if the primary residence is the separate property of one party, it shall remain the party's separate property and shall not transfer to the surviving spouse by default upon death. Let's say you got kids from another marriage. Normally this property would transfer to the wife. You die, and women outlive men. So that means your kids get nothing. Okay, that's the primary residence. Most Black people hold their wealth in their primary residences. That's where the vast majority of our wealth is, in our residence. Now, instead of the ownership of primary residence should be governed by the deceased party's will, trust, or other applicable inheritance, laws of inheritance. The surviving spouse shall have no automatic right, claim, or interest in the primary residence unless expressly granted in a legally valid will or estate. If the deceased party does not have a will, the primary residence shall be distributed in accordance with, in this case, Texas law, intestate laws, or the relevant jurisdiction's inheritance laws to the deceased party. If the primary residence is held in trust, its disposition shall be determined exclusively by the terms of the trust. If there is no outstanding mortgage lien or other financial obligation attached to the primary residence, the surviving spouse shall not be personally liable for such debts unless they're legally obligated as a co-borrower or under the terms of the loan or agreement. Furthermore, the surviving spouse expressly waives the right to claim ownership, life estate or homestead rights in primary residence under the Texas, or it could be any state or any other applicable law explicitly provided for in the deceased party's estate. The surviving spouse shall not contest the inheritance or distribution of the primary residence, nor shall seek to alter separate property status in the legal proceeding. Okay, now basically what that's saying is, and there's another statement that says, even if the judge rules against you, you and I know that this contract says that you have to honor it. You see what I'm saying? And so, yeah. Now, do judges invalidate prenuptial agreements? The answer is yes. But they base it on reasons like, she didn't know what she was signing. And how do you prove she didn't know what she was signing from something she signed 20 years ago? What you do is, and what they do is they get together, they get your lawyer and her lawyer in the same room, and they whip out their videotape, and they videotape you signing it after they asking you questions. Do you know what you're signing? Okay, how many days out are we? 90 days, 6 months out? And so that's going to be something very difficult to refute when they have you on videotape signing the actual prenup. So along with signing the prenup is how you sign it and under what circumstances you sign it and where you sign it. Can the judge still invalidate it? Well, yes, judges can do whatever the heck they want to do sometimes, but they still have to be reasonable. So what you want to do is be ready to take an appeal if you have to. You see what I'm saying? But did that clarify your question? So my answer is I don't know. All I can do is give you some safeguards. And one of the safeguards is having yourself a lawyer, videotaping it, recording it, have them record their mindset at the time, sign it within a certain time period before the marriage. Like, I think the minimum is 90 days. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you want to play that.
We've heard about people that waited till the day of the wedding to try and get somebody to sign something. And the person did sign, but it blew up in their face later on.
Isn't that because they say she signed it under duress?
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna get married today or tomorrow unless I sign this prenup. So what you do is, if she don't want to sign it, look, we got to push the wedding back to 90 days after. As soon as it can be is 90 days after we get married. Okay, we supposed to get married on what's today? 3/18. We supposed to get married on 3/20. But you didn't sign this contract to 3/19. We got to push this date back to 6/20. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen. So keep that in mind. Here's another one: retirement benefits. Now, you done worked your whole life at the California State University system, okay, in San Jose, Okay, and your name is Dr. T. Hasan Super Dr. Johnson.
Here you go.
And you met a fine young thing. Fine. Let me tell you how fine she was. Fine. Woo! Yeah. Woo! And you know what? She stayed married to you for about 4, 5, 7, 8 years. And she said, I need half that retirement money. I'm going back to Colombia, Brazil, wherever I came from, and you're going to pay me, Dr. Super Doctor. I want my money, okay? So what you need, Dr. Johnson, what you need is this waiver of retirement benefits, Doc. Unless named by written instrument, hallelujah. The beneficiary, Jane, okay, we're going to call her Jane. Her name's probably going to be Maria or something like that. Maria waives the right to any of Dr. T. Hasan Johnson's money, title, interest, acquired virtual marriage, Jane's retirement benefit. You can't get this disability. Okay, you're not going to get that retirement. Whether it's a lump sum installment or profit, you're not going to have it. You can't have any of Dr. Johnson's 401k plan, SEPT, individual retirement account, profit sharing plan, any of that. You can't have none of it, Maria. Get on back up. Get on out of here. Get on back to Brazil. That's what you need to do. Obrigado. Okay? Obrigado. All right? Thank you for your time, but you get none of mine. Bars. You see what I'm saying? So this is something that's also covered in here. Okay? Even though somebody misspelled retirement, praise God. You know, this is where we at. Here's a resolution. What we're not going to do is end up in court. Okay. Any dispute or controversy regarding the validity, interpretation, and enforceability of this agreement right here, this one right here, as well as all issues involving its enforcement in connection with the dissolution of proceeding between the parties that is not resolved through informal discussion. In other words, you can't talk it out. What we're not going to do is go to court. That's what we're not going to do. We're not going to be out here serving each other, paying attorney's fees. Mutual expect, in other words, you can file a divorce papers, but any issue is going to be worked out in behind closed doors, out of the public view, at mediation, which is often called, or arbitration. There's another option. You got mediation, arbitration. Each party expressly waives any right to trial by court or trial by jury. We don't want all them people in our business. Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, when you get that fine Brazilian with your son and went off to college, you owe that boy nothing. That boy gone. He grown. Okay, he been gone and grown now, and he about to be out of college. Whatever he do is on him. You about to take that trip straight down to Brazil. Okay, you gonna get off that plane with that hat off to the side like so. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah, yeah, baby, I'm here. Obrigado. You gonna have you one of them Copperini drinks, and it's gonna be a fine one. She's gonna be about 5'7", 5'8" with them thick old legs, looking like she been raised around stallions. Oh, she's just fine. And she be like, come on back to America, baby. I know some friends that know Trump. We're gonna get you that paperwork and move on to California. We're gonna feel good. You see what I'm saying? And when she talk about, yeah, we're gonna get a divorce. No, you might get a divorce, baby, but you ain't going back with nothing. And we're not gonna have a jury trial, so you're not gonna get up there and get a chance to sob and cry and so on. So we're not gonna even see a judge. We're gonna mediate this thing. It's over. You see what I mean? And so that's how that'll work. It is what it is, Doc. Now the rest of this stuff is just, you know, if you want to amend it, the parties expressly reserve the right to amend something. This is the post-nup. Modify or revoke this agreement in form or substance by written instrument. In other words, we can't do it by talking. Okay, Doc, we're not gonna let you Dr. Dre me. Okay, baby, I'm gonna tear it up, and she ain't tear it up, and she end up getting how much? She get 100 million. Nah, we ain't gonna tear this up. It got to be in what? A written instrument. Okay, signifying their mutual agreement in any time during the marriage. We're not gonna let you talk me out of my money, ma'am. Not going for it. I need to hold that. Okay. In the event the legislature changes the decision of the Texas Supreme Court, Texas Court of Appeals, or any other appellate court of another state where the parties reside, invalidating or casting doubt upon the validity of the intent of the parties as to any part of this agreement, this parties expressly agree to enter into a subsequent agreement. In other words, even if the court says it's illegal, we're going to enter into another agreement to carry out what we said was going to happen right here. Okay, that's what you see what I'm saying? And you bound to do it. That's what we're gonna do out here in these prenuptial streets. Non-monetary breach. So there's nothing in here about cheating, ain't nothing in here about beating. You understand me? A lot of them boys, all them basketball boys, where them basketball boys at? Y'all sign these agreements with these lovely IG models, and you know you're gonna cheat, and she know you're gonna cheat, and then you cheat anyway, and now the whole prenuptial agreement is invalidated. Go on, you know the flesh is weak. Praise God. Y'all know the flesh is weak. So why would you put something in there that you know is gonna cause? Don't sign the prenup. Don't even. I'm not gonna marry you, Larry, unless you tell me you're not gonna cheat. That need to be. They know this is a trap. They know you're weak. All you being out there signing these prenuptial agreements, promising not to cheat. You know you're gonna cheat, and even if you don't cheat, okay, if it look like you cheated, and that might be grounds to challenge the prenuptial agreement. So don't have anything like that in there. Okay, just don't put that. It's straight up separate property. You get nothing. And see, but again, the thing is, fellas, you got to marry a woman who's equally yoked. She cannot be some chick you met at the Piggly Wiggly, okay, stacking up shelves, and you a CEO of a company, and you just come on, baby, come on with me. I'm gonna change your life. You out here trying to be a hero, and you end up with zero. You understand what I'm talking about? Except some babies that don't like you that you never see, and a woman that run off with your money. Now, I hope this colorful commentary that's pretty much about it. That's just a little bit more up in here, down here, around here. But for the most part, this is all we got. You understand me? This is about it. You sign a little affidavit at the bottom, and there you have it. Okay.
Wow.
Hallelujah. That was the quickest summary of it. Prenup. That's the main parts. Probably.
I didn't even know you were going to go through that, man.
Yeah. So I say all that to say those are the major points.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
When the divorce is filed, when she gonna get out the house, when you gonna get out the house, whether or not you have to pay alimony before the marriage. Now, mind you, we didn't say anything about child support. That's not something you can regulate. Okay. So, but there are some states which dictate 50-50. And so those things you couple them together. Did I do it? How did I do, Doc? Did I do all right?
Excellent. I appreciate it. But as you mentioned with child support, one of the things we push for on the agenda is a default 50-50 framework upon divorce. Now, obviously, that would be influenced by the lifestyles of the people involved and so on and so forth. But that default standing of 50-50 custody is something we're pushing for, and that was something I believe we learned from Attorney Spurling as well. Before we put that on there. So to get to the core question of the show, is there a conceivable way where there could be some form of default prenup that provides some protections for men that we don't traditionally get? Is that even conceivable? What are your thoughts on that as an attorney?
So let me see if I got this straight. You're asking me, can the law do it, or do we have? You see what you can get in a prenuptial agreement, a contract between the parties. You telling me for the dudes is too afraid to ask their woman to sign that prenup? This is for them. Is this what we're doing? We want the law to take care of it.
It's a similar kind of posture as DNA testing at birth.
Right.
We want something on the books in case you got duped, in case you fell in love and you sidestepped it and got took. Is there a way that can be that can be addressed?
So basically, what you want me to do, Doc, is save the simps. Somebody type "save the simps" in the chat room. You out here 2 weeks. She told you that baby is yours. You looked at that baby's eyes. Let me go and sign that little. Let me
got blue eyes and
I'm gonna sign the birth certificate because it's a beautiful baby. It must be mine. Even if it ain't my baby, I'm gonna take care of this baby. And then make you mad.
Nothing.
Nope. Yeah, you want some simp saving.
Well, this was, and this is what brothers were asking about. Is that a thing?
Now let me say this, fellas. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna look in your eyes. You know, I'm on my month off. I'm like one of these offshore dudes. I do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I've been doing. So I'm gonna do a month off, but I'm here for Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. Look here. Look me in my eyeballs. Can y'all see me? You need to get that DNA test before you sign that birth certificate.
Yes, sir.
You need, praise God, you need to get a prenuptial agreement before you take your dumb self and get married. That's what you need to do. Now, that being the case, praise God, that being the case, if we were to advocate for laws that would save men from their selfish selves, then we would have to ask the court to presume that all property owned during the marriage is separate property, as opposed to all property owned during the marriage is community property. And then there would be the burden to prove that it was community property on the person who's trying to get it. Okay? So as it is right now, the presumption is that all children born during the marriage are sired by the father. Okay. Likewise, there's a presumption that all property owned during the marriage is community property. In other words, it's both of y'all's. So now you would have to change the law, literally reverse the law, and say there needs to be a presumption that all property owned during the marriage is separate property. That's how that would work. That's the starting point. Okay. And like China, you would have to pre-designate some of these things. Now, you're going to get a lot of pushback from these women.
Of course. They're pushing back on DNA testing. So, yeah.
Yeah. You see what I mean? So, but that would be the first step. That would be the first step. I mean,
you don't think it's feasible, but that would have to be the first step.
Oh, it is feasible, but then that's going to give a cascade of other problems. Okay. If you buy your wife a car, it's your money. Okay. What's the name of a good car? That BMW 5.3X T-Bone, whatever it is. And you put $75,000 down because you loved her. Okay. It's your money, right? The presumption is that that's separate property, not community property, even though it was your money. Okay. And so you just lost $75,000 because she's riding around in it and just presumed that it's hers because it's in her name. Now let's flip the script. Let me do what I do. All right. Where the girl dads at? All you girl dads. All you girl dads out there. You let your daughter marry that big head boy. Okay. He done cheat on her and beat on her. And send her back to you, broke and penniless, with some little scraggly puppies that he don't have to take care of because he got 50-50 custody. She's been married to him 7 years, got 3 kids, and she doesn't get any alimony, any child support, and he decided to run off. You see what I mean? So now you the daddy taking care of your grandkids just like you took care of her. She gets nothing and no child support. So where's the money? So how are we gonna do that? Because everything was presumed separate property, and since he owned everything, all the cars were in his name, even though he bought them during the marriage. The house was in his name, even though he bought it during the marriage. It's presumed separate, and in order for her to get that community property tag put on it, you got to hire some lawyers and pay for your daughter, because otherwise you're gonna end up paying for her either way, or she's gonna end up homeless. You see what I'm saying? Just think about it like that. All my girl dads out there, or some of y'all may have sisters and other women that you like or love, or that new woman that you got. The new woman that you got, she fine, boy. Ooh, she was right next to the woman that Dr. Hasan Johnson met down in Brazil. Okay, but he got that. He got Maria, and you got Claudette. Okay, you got Claudette, but Claudette got 2 kids. Okay, she got 2 kids. And she fine though, boy. She like super like woo, and you wanted it, but she ain't getting no child support, and she didn't get anything out of her first marriage. You see what I'm saying? So now you gotta take on her and take care of them kids like they're yours, and that opens up a whole nother set of issues. So I mean, you know, if we want to look at what's best for society, we need balance. So the idea that reversing the presumption that all the property owned during the marriage is separate property is going to is trying to get that law changed. It's going to bring forth more of a burden than trying to get the law that requires DNA testing. That's my opinion, because you really messing up some money. You messing up some houses, some money. That's That's my thought. But go ahead. It can be
No,
done.
no. It's just that we know the history of it, and we know that it has not really leaned to the benefit not only of men, but especially black men in that regard. And so, if the question is raised, like, and here's my rationale with the black male political agenda. If somebody said, "All right, we need men to get married again. We done messed this up so bad. Men don't want to come close to it. Nobody's getting married anymore. All of these things are set up for women to benefit." And there's some rationale behind that. Like you said, she's got the kids, so on and so forth. I'm not saying it doesn't have a framework, but we've gone so far one way that men have just completely walked away from it altogether, like in China. So if somebody were to say, okay, what do y'all want? What would it take to get y'all to actually marry women again? I want to know, is there some way to be able to say, this is what we propose, and this is one of the features to it in regard to some type of default prenuptial agreement? It may not work. I'm I've never had one. You know my deal. I got married, but she passed, so I didn't have to go through a divorce. I didn't really have to deal with the dissolution of property or any of that. So this is not coming from I got to do this because I went through this. I'm just saying, look, what kind of protections can we provide for men who haven't traditionally gotten them, especially if society wants men to participate again? Because I just heard about the divorce of former NBA player Doug Christie and his wife Jackie. I just watched the video about that earlier today, and apparently what they were revealing in the video was she apparently was not only seeing other people behind his back, she was stealing money and redirecting millions, and so he was completely kind of oblivious to this, and his lawyers had to discover. I'm saying, okay, see, what are the kind of protections that we can provide for everyday men?
How did she have access to his money? What was one of the first things I said? No joint bank accounts. You see what I mean? Unless she was out there forging his name on his check, she obviously had access to his joint bank accounts. That's why in this prenuptial here for John and Jane, it specifically says we will not commingle our funds. So again, fellas, the best advice, the best antidote to getting hammered in a marriage is don't be a simp. That's the best. Think with your mind as opposed to your heart. Stop trying to be nice. Okay, do what's in your best interest. That's the first thing. It's a business. Treat it like a business, just like what the people saying right here. Treat it like a business. Don't go in there, with your eyes covered and your heart wide open, and recognize who you're dealing with. I mean, it's already available now. Can we change some laws? Yes, we can. I mean, can we make it more difficult to get a divorce? Yes. Can we punish the person who cheat? Yes. But then what about if the person didn't cheat and she said you cheated? Okay. And now you're paying a punishment for that. Because I mean, how do you know if somebody cheated or not? Were you there? Do you have video footage? People very rarely know. They just put the allegations out there and have to deal with it. But yeah, there's some changes we can make in the law. You can say, hey, there's a presumption that the property is separate and not community. We can do away with alimony. We can do away with pre-trial alimony, pre-divorce alimony, post-divorce alimony. That's gonna get rid of the incentive, but then that still leaves you wide open. So for her to go pillage your bank account. So now you have to go back to everything is presumed to be separate property. Okay. Now here's the cold part about it. Let's say you got a wife that you love and you've had kids with her. You don't like some of your kids, okay?
You said you don't like some
of them kids. Man, I don't like them kids. My ugly kids are disrespectful. I don't like them. They don't come around no more. Don't bring nothing for eat. Forget them kids. But now you die and your property is considered separate. So your children inherit your separate property and they leave mama out to dry. You see what I'm saying? As opposed to it be deemed community property, which means she's entitled to half and the kids get half. You never know what if you got some ugly grandkids that you don't like, and that ugly grandchild who don't have no ties to you or your wife, the parent dies, and that grandchild inherits the property, and then they put the grandma out because they said this was granddaddy's property. He died, my daddy died. And so therefore, this is my separate property. You see what I mean? Because there's no community property assumption, grandma is not entitled to anything. It's all daddy's property. You see what I'm saying? Or she's an old woman trying to fight somebody in court, trying to keep the property. And the reverse is true. Grandma could die. And everything would normally go, half of the property would normally go to granddaddy, and he would hold it in trust, not alienate it. And you know, because you know he is community property, and then when he dies, it goes to the next person in line. But if grandma dies and grandpa inherits nothing, they just say this is grandma's separate property, then they can put granddaddy out. You see what I mean? And so you got to think about, we don't want to go too far in the other direction because we'll be right back to where we are now in 50 years with women saying, oh, that's crazy, and men who have daughters, oh, that's just ridiculous. You see what I mean? This is so warped and twisted. You see, there's got to be something in there. But my best bet: get the prenuptial agreement ahead of time. Know what you're talking about. Know what you're looking for. Can we do this on a statewide level? Yeah, some things that can be done, but they're doing them. Divorce, no alimony, post, these sort of things. That's the best avenue right now. Take a little step till we get some equilibrium. I don't know, Doc. Maybe we have to think about this a little bit more. But
no, but you raise a significant point, and this is one of the things that impacts each point on the agenda: the state versus the federal. In that sense, it's always a juggling match. I won't say always, but most of the time, it's a juggling match in terms of that. So that's definitely a relevant point. But you know, just to at least entertain the idea, and mind you, and I'm talking to the audience now. Again, as with, you know, as is usual for this channel, I want you guys to communicate in the comments, even, you know, after the video, when we're done with the live. I want to hear you guys' thoughts, and I also want to hear your experiences. I want to know if you have any experience with a prenup or any experience with not having a prenup and what the repercussions were. But if you have any ideas about how this or anything else along those lines might be useful, please feel free to contribute them. But these are the kind of discussions I want to see more of, especially coming out of the space, because I want men to be able to articulate your needs, because this is what we're seeing, especially in the last year, and most particularly since November. People are now being forced to pay attention to men.
Yes, they are.
I mean, one of the reasons that Trump got elected, and I've been saying this since it happened, was the left really did wage war on masculinity, in my opinion. Anthony Mackie has a point. And what ended up happening there is the Republicans saw what the Democrats discarded. There was a whole population of people who were voting age that were being ignored on the left. And Trump looked at it and said, well, shit, he just picked it up and rolled with it. Everybody got mad at men, particularly black men. But the point was that wouldn't have been an issue if the left didn't disregard men in the first place. So now you have a situation where I'm seeing more people paying attention to men than I've seen in years. And my only question to other brothers is, are you prepared to articulate what you need, what you want? What are your demands? Do you have them? I'm not judging the demands. I'm not wedded to one or the other. My question is, are we prepared to have that conversation in classrooms, in courtrooms, in Senate decisions, policy decisions? I just want to know, are we prepared to articulate our needs and wants? So, this is what I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about this? How can it be adjusted? What do you propose? And I want to extend a thank you again to Attorney Spurling, because mind you, he popped in here after a long day. He didn't have to do it. He volunteered it in the first place over a week ago on Facebook. So I can't, I really appreciate it, man. I can't thank you enough for even giving us your expertise on this. But these are the questions I want to ask, because we're seeing around the world, not just around the country. Because you and I know over the last 5 years, especially, we've seen various states, Republicans, Democrats, left, right, who are now looking at some of the things we're talking about and trying to find ways to implement them. But now we're seeing other countries who are dealing with marital issues, who are dealing with this question of birth rates versus death rates, and what societies need to do to manufacture families again. My question again to the brothers is, are we prepared to tell people what it is we need if we were going to ever participate on full scale again? We know how to word that.
Doc, I think that if you want to get more men to jump back into marriage, the strongest action you could take would say, get rid of the presumption that property owned during the marriage is community property. Everything is presumed separate property during the marriage. Anything acquired during the marriage is presumed separate property. That's the best way. That way, hey, I get to keep what I earned during the marriage. So it's just like being single, and everything else needs to be worked out. You see, that would be the best way to do it. That was, well, I ain't no fear in getting married. If I work and I make $100,000 a year and she makes $25,000 a year, and she gets married at her own peril, she might end up with nothing. But guess what that does? That gives her an incentive to stay her butt in that marriage. You see, that's how it works. So you maintain the leverage in the marriage the whole time, the financial leverage. You go with what you came with, and you go with what you earn. You don't go with what I earn. So that would be the strongest incentive. So if I was to amend the 18 points, it would be the presumption of all property during the marriage is community property is reversed, and now the presumption is that all property possessed during the marriage is separate property, and make them prove otherwise. That would be my point.
So that would be the main focal point.
Yep.
If there was a default prenuptial, it would fixate on property.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Property, everything property, because the alimony is being taken care of, the child support is being taken care of. It's the presumption that all property owned during the marriage is community property that's a problem. It's the matter of fact, not just the presumption. Community property is the problem. That means she gets to have stuff that she didn't earn because she sat at the house and watched soap operas all day, and I went out there and bust my butt. So 20 years from now, she's entitled to my 401k, the house, the cars, because it's presumed that she owns half of it. But if the presumption is that it's separate property and it belongs to the person whose name is on it, guess what? Then she better stay her butt where she is, because it's all separate property. Same, basically, you take that Chinese law and throw it in with our stuff. That's basically it.
Yeah. Now, the one last question before you get that cigar out and go kick it in that beautiful backyard.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
That backyard is clean, y'all. I'm telling you. But the last question. So with these kinds of changes, do you think the culture of marriage, especially in the Black community and how we talk about it, do you think these kinds of policy changes can have a lasting impact on how people even approach the idea? Because as you and I know, we've approached the idea, and I've said this before, men approach it with this lovey-dovey kind of sensibility about it, and women are coming through with generations of advice on how to play this like a chess game. Do you think these kinds of policy changes can have a lasting impact on that part of the culture?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. First of all, men will be more willing to get married, so you have more marriage. And women will be a lot more mindful of who they marry and whether or not they can get married. So they're going to be mindful of the things they do before they get married. And they're going to try to fetch the highest price, which means, it's just going to make them compete, you see? The idea is the men are the ones who decide who they're going to marry.
Yeah.
Okay? And so if you have more men getting married, you're going to have more marriages. And more marriages lead to the other things that come from marriage: stability, financial security, better situations for children largely. The only drawback is for women, as far as they're concerned, the men being the primary earners, are going to have a lot more leverage than we have had since the 1950s.
Yeah. Well, y'all know, and in case you don't, I'll repeat it. One of the major motivations for me even wanting to do this show is the marriage rates altogether. Now we know. Now I haven't checked them recently; so they may have changed. But traditionally, what we've seen in the last number of years is about 1 out of 2 marriages ends in divorce, and about 70 to 80% of those divorces are initiated by women. So we're looking at changing the culture while at the same time providing some type of policy protections for men, so we don't keep going into this dynamic vulnerable, or at least as vulnerable as we have been. And we know that second and third marriages have a much higher divorce rate than the 50% rate that we know for first marriage. So we want to, and this is really, I'm not pushing for marriage necessarily. Looks like we lost Dennis. I'm not necessarily pushing for marriage the way Kevin Samuels was, but I am saying if men want the option, if society wants men to participate again, we just want to be ready to answer the question of what we would need in order for that to happen. So Anyway, man, I appreciate you even just popping back in to say goodbye. I know you got to get back to the family, so thank you again, good brother.
Oh, it's always a pleasure being here, Doc. You didn't tell about the case we had. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all. So anyway, what happened was my client had a baby mama. Okay. Somebody typed baby mama in the chat room. And his baby mama said that he was did something he shouldn't have done at a major public facility for transportation. And even though several police officers around and saw the whole thing, video footage, she said that he hit her and the baby, not her, not just her and the baby. Okay, he hit her and the baby. Okay, now mind you, my client is a very successful black man, and I'm like, we gonna sue her. What we gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and file this defamation lawsuit against her. For you guys who don't know what defamation is, that's when somebody says something about you. It could be something that affects your ability to work, or affects your says something disparaging about you that's a lie. And we said it was a lie. And we had video footage, and we had witnesses, and had police officers. And we had to explain to the judge that, hey, judge, just because it's not true does not mean that this man won't be affected. And why would he be affected more than any other man? Because there's already the presumption that a black man is the villain. And so, yeah, even now she's saying he's a baby beater and a woman beater. Okay. So of course Uncle D is gonna get his money. I hit him for 100,000. I'm like, I'm gonna need 100 G's off top player. You need to come up with 100 racks if you want me to do this case. And so he paid me my money. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm in it. So I got my 100,000, and I said, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, look here, man, I got this case and the situation happened here. I need you to come in as an expert witness. And we qualified him as an expert witness on black male studies and so on and so forth. And he basically testified that even once vindicated, because he is a black man, his reputation is permanently scarred. Doc, you can tell him what you testified to at the deposition. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't talk about the case because I'm never clear on what I can share and what I can't. But absolutely, I talked about, the accusation alone and the impact on your professional reputation for black men is irreparable much of the time. Even if the case is found, if it's found that you're innocent, that you've been lied about, so on and so forth, simply because the accusation has been made, it has lasting impact on black men. And we went into some detail about that. And, really, we were trying to say that this brother is likely going to suffer no matter what happens, simply because she made this frivolous, accusation. So that's kind of where that went.
To gain an advantage.
Yes.
Because remember, all of this arose because he said, look, I'm going to need to go ahead and change these kids' name and file some family law paperwork. And she took that as, oh, he's trying to take my children. So she jumped the gun, fled the country. He confronted her at the location where she was trying to flee from, which is surrounded by cops and video and everything. The cops, of course, came to the aid of this poor little woman who was being attacked by this big black man. He wasn't even that black, and he definitely wasn't that big. Okay. But nevertheless, he's still considered this brute, a very highly educated man. So she fled. We end up, and then she used that accusation as grounds to get emergency custody in the jurisdiction that she just moved to, so that she can hold on to the kids. Again, this is what I'm telling you. The play is, say he beat me, okay? and if he beat me, then that means I get to keep the kids. He's a danger. I get child support. I get temporary custody until the TRO is up, et cetera, et cetera. So what we end up happening was we put so much heat on her, and her poor family law lawyer, who never got caught up in federal court, the lawyer quit. The lawyer said, I can't, it's too much. And so she ended up we just ran her out. They ran out of money. And so we ended up going in front of the judge, and the judge negotiated a mediation where she had to write a written apology to my client. Okay, in lieu of us getting a judgment against her, she had to write a written law against our client. And keep in mind, she'd made other allegations about him before. stuff. That's what they do. He beat the kids and all that, but it wasn't true. But that's what they say. You see what I'm saying? So she alleges what happened, and she agreed that she would never bring this up again. And if the subject is ever brought up again, because you may see this man on TV and such, she'll say that we had some differences, but he's never been physically violent towards me or the kids in any way. So that's the win. And if you got a career that pays you $5-6 million a year, paying old Uncle D $100,000 is nothing to get your name clear. But that's what happened. And so that's why we brought Dr. T. Hasan Johnson. So shout out to you, Doc.
Here's the thing, though, I appreciate it. I appreciated that Dennis called me at all. But the real reason that I wanted to get in on it is we talked about setting precedent. That was one of the things. And once, you laid that out to me, I was like, that's what I'm drawn to. We were able to really push some type of, framework in place that others could be able to use in some form or fashion. And that was what really drew me in right out the gate. So even though this brother is well-to-do and not everybody may be, that precedent is accessible to other people, if I'm understanding properly. So
that's exactly right. If your baby mama says something crazy to you in a courtroom, even though it's not true, right? What we did was we set a precedent that even that may be something that's subject to defamation. And I forget there was a little caveat in there. I don't know what it was. It's because normally stuff that's said in the courtroom is not true. Oh, she filed it in the wrong jurisdiction.
Okay.
Let's say it would have been proper jurisdiction in California, or we'll say Oregon, because she filed it in Utah, it's invalid, and therefore we can use that statement made in that Utah courtroom as we treat it as though it's defamatory. Because typically, if somebody says something negative about you in court in an affidavit, because you have the right to confront that and prove your innocence or prove that you're not guilty, they don't deem that as defamation. However, if let's say you have a lawyer who goes out after he walks out the courtroom, goes and speaks to a group of newspaper reporters and says something defamatory, that lawyer can be sued for defamation. Okay. Because it's said outside the courtroom, even though it's a lawyer talking about what just happened in the courtroom. My client is innocent, my client, blah, blah, blah. Well, your client beat my client up and he's, out here doing all sorts of stuff. Well, that interferes, that's defamation per se, because it interferes with this person's ability to do their job. You're a police officer and your wife is saying, he out here beating me. Well, damn, you can't be a good police officer if you're out here beating your woman. She went on the internet and said all that, or her lawyer said that in front of a group of cameras. So yeah, we set a precedent, and it was a hard fought case. I think it lasted about 2-3 years. But but they gave me $100,000. Doc, I got my. Hey, you got to pay Uncle D. Them little cash apps and super chats ain't working.
Here you go.
You got to pay me. Praise God. Hallelujah.
Well, we'll let that be a reminder to make sure y'all support the channel. Also support Uncle D's channel. Make sure you support both of us, because this is the kind of thing that I want to see men move into. We need to move into different spaces, create new conversations, and advocate for ourselves in ways that we may not be doing yet. So I'm always on the lookout for new ways to do that. I want to hear from y'all. But these are the kind of conversations we need to have, because these are the things that brothers are experiencing.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Uncle D.
All right, man.
Shout out to you. My best to the family. Everybody look like they thriving every time I see everybody on Facebook. So,
they got to get out of my pocket. They all got jobs now. Everybody got a job. But anyway, Doc, I appreciate you, man. I'm out, Doc. Thank you so much. I'll come back anytime.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. All right. Shout out to attorney Dennis Spurling, doing some beautiful work out there. So my appreciation to him for coming. My appreciation to all of you for coming through. And again, I don't want this conversation to end here. I want you guys to add to this. I want you guys to give me your thoughts, give me your corrections, give me your new ideas. If you want something else instead, or you think something else would be a better way to approach this, I don't profit from it. I'm not getting, so it's not like, I'm gonna go get a bag off of you. It's not about that. I'm just trying to get these ideas out here so that we can actually, keep things moving and find new ways to advocate for our position. So that said, appreciate all of y'all for coming through. Please share the video, like the video. Let's get it out there. And y'all have a good one. Peace. I am here to tell you, brothers, we are not criminals by birth, perennial rapists, incapable intellects, man-children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, unintelligent henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your worth. Peace.